Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and today for Stretch to Sketch, we are all scraplifting Janet. So we all got to pick a layout and then stretch it however we wanted. I loved this one that she did with the different strips of paper in the background. So I am going to be squishing this down into 8.5 by 11. I'm using my die cuts with a view paper pad called Autumn Chill. And I really wanted these warmer tones. I'm documenting Marcus and Billy and just like a couple cute pictures I had with them. One of them, Marcus is sleeping and Billy's like laying on him and it's adorable. And then the other one, Marcus was actually trying to make the bed and asked Billy to get off the bed. And whenever you ask Billy to get off the bed, he gets extra cuddly and tries to like snuggle up to you to like try to like tempt you to just cuddle him and not kick him off. So the other photo is a picture of that where Marcus is trying to make the bed and asked him to get off, and Billy kind of crawled up under him and was like, no, I don't want to get off the bed. So I think most of us have issues with using vertical and horizontal 4x6s together. Usually if I have this issue, I will try to trim one of them into a 4x4 or both of them to a 4x4 so I don't have to deal with it. But because I have this kind of longer, skinnier layout, because I am changing the proportion 8.5 by 11, I figured I'd just try to roll with it. I pulled out a piece of computer paper, that way I just know it's 8.5 by 11, so I'm using that as my background. And then I cut a couple strips of this really cool autumnal plaid to be those strips. So I just trimmed them into a bunch of different sizes. I tried to lay them out. I tried to keep the pattern correct. I think there's probably a few of them that got flipped around, but I'm going to quickly just glue those down to start the background, and then I'll try to figure it out from there. I'm really trying hard just to use scraps for this layout, other than the 12 by 12 I will end up pulling in to mat this on at the end. So I'm trying to just use what I have to the left there from the paper pad. But I'm trying to stick to these warmer tones. There are some greens and stuff in this collection, so I'm trying to stay kind of away from those. At least these cooler tones, like that minty color that's on the back of the plaid. There's a more olivey green that I will kind of pull in a bit later, but right now my goal is just to try to keep these straight, try to keep the spacing between them uniform. So I'm just going to go one by one to try to do that. You'll see me struggle with a couple of them, trying to flip them around to see if I have them in the right orientation. So I'm sure some of these got flipped around at some point, but you don't really notice at the end of the layout, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. If you hear pitter-pattering in the background, Franklin is free roaming, so if you hear him running around in the background, that's just him. I've decided on the days that I'm home I kind of made a ramp out of my yoga mat by anchoring it with a rock in his enclosure so he can kind of run in and out as he wishes. And it's hysterical because he like slides down it like a slide and then he hits the hardwood and you just hear his little tippy tappies, which is funny. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what layer I want behind these two photos. I'm going to have them glued together like this, which is kind of a weird orientation, but by the end, again, you kind of don't notice it. I decided that I did need another paper to mat this with, but I decided I was just going to use whichever paper I was going to use as the background as that layer, so I didn't have to cut into two 12 by 12. So I decided to go with this tone-on-tone orange floral as the background. So I'm just gutting behind where I know the 8.5 11 is going to go, and I'm going to use that scrap as the layer behind my photos. And then I realized that layer was too short, so I needed to pull in another scrap as a horizontal layer to kind of cover this gap. So I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just want to make sure it looks like this orange layer goes top to bottom. So getting that glued down, and now I'm just needing to find a scrap. Oh my gosh, Franklin. I really hope you guys can hear his feet running around because it is so funny. I'm trying to find a scrap to cover this gap. So I decided to go with this kind of greeny, Frankie, this kind of green layer as a horizontal bit to cover up the gaps. And I like that. I kind of wanted a couple horizontal layers anyways. So But as I started layering, I was like, all these papers are kind of running together. I need a way to define them a little more. So I just thought back to the OG, Mercy Tiara, and she likes to line her papers to make them all tie together when she's struggling with that issue. So I decided to take one out of her book. I tried to find a color pen that went with this collection. So this one was kind of like a maroony orange. And of course it was lining perfectly on the first piece, and then it tried to die on me. But I had already committed and I needed to line all of these papers. So I did my best with the pen side to line all of these. But once I kind of glued this down to the 12 by 12, I switched over to the marker side, which was a little juicier to line the rest of the papers, because this pen side of this color was not going to make it around all of them. And I didn't have another one of these colors, and I didn't want to switch colors, so I just tried to make it work. But just using my ruler to kind of keep them straight. I really like what Tracy does when she can kind of freehand these lines, and she likes that they look casual because they're a little wonky, but like I cannot do that without them looking ridiculous. So I'm just gonna stick to my ruler for now. Almost done here with the lining. I'm not even bothering lining the sides of some of these because I know that big orange layer with the photos is going to cover a lot of it, but I wanted to make sure all the parts you could see was outlined. So I'm going to go through and try to finish that up. I don't have embellishment for this collection, so I will try to pull in some of the chipboard from that Simple Stories antique kind of collection that I've been using here and there. So that's pretty much all I have to go on, but I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. I really like how this looks. It's very cramped because I am trying to squish her beautiful layout into an 8.5 by 11, and then I'm also using multiple photos. So I'm trying to just work within those restraints, but I could not just pick one of these photos. They really needed to be on a page together because it's just documenting the two of them and being adorable. So I'm going to go ahead and commit, but I need some more layers. I really like this beautiful piece. It is kind of that greeny tone. But I really like that kind of to serve as my title and just to fill up kind of the awkward corner where those two photos meet. So I decided that would be a focal point kind of right in the middle of the page, which I normally don't do. But I actually really like it for some reason. And then I decided I want some more of that kind of brownie maroon tone that's in the plaid. So I'm going to take a scrap of that and make a little fishtail banner to kind of add a little bit more interest to the cluster. So I like that. Here's that chipboard I decided I was going to try to use. And I thought the yellow was actually really close to this green. So I'm going through and picking out a bunch of the yellow pieces. Some of these pieces I thought about using on this page. You guys already saw at the beginning of the month because I made this layout first before International Scrapbooking Day, and then kind of had to go backtrack for the layouts in the beginning of the month. But I put this up on some foam. I thought about using this yellow piece that you guys already saw. I decided not to use that on this page because the context didn't really make sense. But I do really like this yellow banner that says "Enjoy Today," and I really like all these little yellow chipboard hearts. So I'm going to try to get all of those on there. Once again, I do not use that yellow floral, but I decided if I just use all the yellow pieces, they'll kind of balance each other out, so I don't have to worry much about the color. But now that I have some embellishment to work with, I'm going to go ahead and glue my 8.5 by 11 onto the 12 by 12. I've been doing this a lot when I play along with Stretch the Sketch. The point is to just squish this down into an 8.5 by 11, but because I am a 12 by 12 scrapper, I do want it to work within my album, so I do like to tie them together in some way to make it look like a cohesive 12 by 12, even though I'm really just creating a 1/2 by 11 for this video in my book. I just don't want it to look like I just glued an 8.5 by 11 to a 12 by 12, which you can totally do, but I like them to be a little bit more cohesive than that. And I love the torn detail she did on her original layout, and I really wanted to incorporate that, and I just didn't leave myself enough room on the 8.5 by 11 to do that. So I'm incorporating it on the 12 by 12 portion of this page, even though that's not really supposed to be a part of this layout's design. But I couldn't help myself. I just really loved the torn detail. I like how she used like a couple different papers within that torn detail, and I thought it was a really good opportunity to pull in more of that green and that maroony brown color. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. I just tore a chunk out of the side here, and I'm adding in backing it with the green and then adding another torn detail with the brown piece, and I love that. And I'm just going to have a couple of those yellow chipboard hearts kind of embellishing that cluster. And then since I have that interest on the lower left-hand part of the page, I decided the other chipboard elements would go on the opposite side of the page just to kind of frame everything up. So I'm going to have the other two hearts and that Enjoy Today banner over there. So, and then this is when I realized, oh, like I need to line this paper too so that it matches everything. And this is why I switched to the marker side. So this line's a little thicker, but I kind of like that because it is the 12 by 12. So that has a thicker line than all the other papers, but I feel like it still works. And then I'm also lining this little beautiful piece here in the middle. And I still want some embellishment, and I still kind of want more of a title than just that beautiful cut apart. So it takes me a minute to kind of figure that out too. This is definitely one of the more simpler pages too, because I did this before International Scrapbooking Day when I really hadn't been in a scrappy mood, but knew I wanted to have some videos for this month. So this one was more of a simple one to get me out of my funk, which I love. This is why I chose Janet's layout to scraplift, because that's definitely one of my go-to ways to get back into scrapbooking after not scrapbooking for a while, is finding a layout you like to scraplift. That way you don't have to kind of do all of the work with coming up with a brand new design. So I think I'm going through my stash now. I don't know where I went, but I'm trying to find some embellishment for this. I need to add something. It just needs some more. It's not done yet. I do go through the cut aparts in this paper pad. There's a lot of really pretty moths in this pattern paper, or this paper pad. So I take one of them out to fussy cut, I know for sure, but I'm really trying to figure out other layers if I want some more textures. I decided to use a doily, which I haven't been using my doilies that often, but I really needed something to beef up this middle section. It just was looking awkward for some reason, and I think the doily helps break it up a little bit. So I like that. But since I did add that white, which is nice because it kind of goes off the white of the computer paper, but I also wanted like another white element, so I'll go back and try to find some foam white alphas as my title. But for right now, here are the really pretty moths that are on one of the cut apart sheets, and I just picked one of them to fussy cut to have as an embellishment on the beautiful piece. I would have loved to use more of those, but I feel like I've already committed to using these chipboard pieces, and I feel like they would have competed if I also tried to add the moths. So I just picked this one that I thought had a lot of the colors from this page. I popped that up on some foam to go with that little beautiful piece, and I really like that. I love the moths in this collection. I wish there was a lot more of them, actually. So getting some foam backed on that so it has a little bit of dimensional pop, and then I think I will go in for my title, but there's not a whole lot after that. I'm gonna title this Boys, just because Marcus and Billy are my boys, and that's pretty much it. So the close-ups are here in a minute, but make sure you check the description for everyone else playing along with Stretch the Sketch. We are all picking our own favorite layouts of Janet to Scrapbook. And happy anniversary to Stretch the Sketch. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.